I am pleased to introduce to you, by virtue of the authority that has been bestowed upon me by the state of Texas and by Jesus Christ, Douglas Weiss and Mrs. Weiss, who are lifelong lovers, husband and wife, Dougie Fisher-Bride. Greetings. Is it even possible to conceive of a so-called man of God who would publicly endorse the contentious marriage between Joni Lamb and Doug Weiss? Do you even quote scripture to support your claim? Anyway, here is the video clip. Considering that they are a believer, why is it necessary for a person to live with someone who is abusing them? I was told by the Lord that He is a person who has a strong faith. This brings us to the main point. In the event that someone is physically assaulting you, they are not a Christian. You should know that there are a few different ways that I can determine whether or not a person is a believer, if they actively mean to be unkind to you. One option is for me to tell Susie to leave. When you have a marriage, and I shared with you all the verse that the Lord gave me, which is found in Amos 2:12 and pertains to Doug's wife, because I prayed about it one morning and said, Lord, I don't want to be a part of something that you are not going to bless. There is a possibility that you will not bless it. And the very first thing that I said to Joni was, Joni, the only thing that matters to me is whether or not God will bless this relationship in the name of the Lord, as it is written in Amos 2:12. That is to say, Doug's wife was harsh and exhibited passive-aggressive behavior. Therefore, by living with his wife, he was forced to contemplate ending his own life. Indeed, this is the outcome that takes place. Once again, his wife never thanked him for his help, and she told him, get out of here, I don't want to look at you anymore. This is what happens when you find someone who is being abused. She has been unkind to him over, and she has been doing what she has been doing on purpose for a considerable amount of time. In my opinion, she was behaving in a manner that suggested she did not believe. With all my heart, I could never, ever, ever be in a relationship with someone like Doug. Jimmy Evans claims that God gave his blessing to the marriage between Doug Weiss and Joni Lamb. Nonetheless, this has brought up significant concerns regarding the integrity of the church's leadership. How can a preacher claim that God authorized him to do what he did? Do you believe that this is indeed God's design? Or is it merely a technique to cover up behaviors that are questionable? Before we go any further, make sure that you have liked this channel, that you have subscribed to it, and that you have turned on notifications for it so that you do not miss any updates on this subject. Now, let's take it one step at a time and break it down. In November of 2021, Joni Lamb, who was one of the co-founders of Daystar television network, suffered the loss of her husband, Marcus Lamb. Marcus was not only her husband, but he also served as her co-host on the show that they both hosted together. His passing has left a significant void in her life, both in terms of her personal and professional life. On the other hand, Joni started a relationship with Doug Weiss, a well-known marriage counselor, only a few short months following his passing. Regarding someone who was still in the process of grieving, this prompted questions because it appeared to come too soon. A lot of people were curious about whether or not Joni was truly prepared for a new relationship, or whether or not she was just looking for solace during a difficult time. There was an additional layer of complexity added to the situation by the fact that Doug was still married when he began offering Joni comfort. The circumstances surrounding this case have prompted individuals to discuss the length of time that should pass before a person begins a new relationship after the death of their spouse, particularly when they are in the public glare. A well-known preacher named Jimmy Evans claims that before agreeing to Doug Weiss and Joni Lamb's marriage, he communicated with God through prayer. Initially, Evans claimed that he did not have a strong familiarity with Doug. Nevertheless, he He later stated that he was pleased by Doug's integrity and humility. Additionally, Evans stated that he had asked Doug difficult things in private, and Doug responded to them in an honest and humble manner. After then, Evans revealed that he had a brief but conclusive conversation with God. The statement that he made to God was that he told him, "I'm going to do the wedding unless you tell me otherwise." Evans claims that God gave him permission to move forward with the wedding ceremony, so he went ahead and performed the ceremony. This may sound compelling, but it raises the question of how we can determine whether or not someone has actually received a message from God. Is it possible that Evans's actions were affected by his own feelings or by the circumstances? It is necessary to provide responses to these significant questions. When we get to this point, things become much more difficult. When Doug Weiss started offering Joni consolation following Marcus's passing, he was still married to his wife, Lisa Weisse, till the time of his death. On the night when Marcus passed away, Joni Evans stated that she had a conversation with Doug that lasted for a total of 19 hours. Despite the fact that this may appear to be support, it has caused others to question whether or not their relationship was more than simply a friendship from the time before Doug's divorce. Questions of a severe nature have been raised as a result of the fact that Doug was still married when he began offering Joni comfort. Is it true that he was merely attempting to assist a widow who was going through a difficult time? Or was there something else going on? Certain individuals are of the opinion that Doug took advantage of Joni's unhappiness, while others are of the opinion that he was simply being a nice friend. The fact that Doug was still married and that his conduct could be interpreted as a violation of his marriage vows makes the situation look unfavorable as a result. Numerous ethical concerns have been brought to light as a result of Doug Weiss's separation from Lisa Weisse and his more recent involvement with Joni Lamb. How is it possible for someone who is a marriage counselor and a Christian leader to rationalize beginning a new relationship so soon after the conclusion of their previous relationship? Numerous individuals have voiced their disapproval of Doug's decision to begin a relationship with Joni before the conclusion of his divorce proceedings. There have been allegations of infidelity and treachery leveled at Doug as a result of the fact that he was still married to Joni when he began offering her comfort. As a result of this, people have engaged in conversations on the significance of honoring boundaries and delaying moving on until the marriage has been officially terminated. In addition to this, it is asked whether or not those in positions of authority within the church are held to the same standards as everyone else. The assertions made by Jimmy Evans that he has received a message from God raise questions about the fairness of the situation. Evans is able to declare that God told him that it was good for Doug and Joni to get married. Nevertheless, he has not asked God about the more significant issues that have been occurring within the Lamb family. One of the most significant problems is the charges of child abuse that have been made against the daughter of Jonathan and Susie Lamb. It is not merely a family matter that these charges pertain to, they have an impact on the entire church. Doesn't it make sense for Evans to inquire about these charges if he truly does receive communication from God? If he wants to help those who have been injured, shouldn't he make an effort to discover the truth? Abusive behavior is a significant problem, and it is the obligation of the church to deal with it in a respectful and truthful manner. All too frequently, reports of abuse are disregarded in order to safeguard reputations. Not only does this cause harm to the victims, but it also causes others to lose faith in the church. It is reasonable for the church to anticipate that its leaders will be truthful and have integrity. One of the most important factors in maintaining confidence in any institution, especially the church, is transparency. The fact that leaders are transparent about their activities and choices demonstrates that they are dedicated to acting in a manner that is morally sound. In situations where confidence has been violated, this is of utmost significance. Conducting an inquiry in a transparent manner guarantees that the results will be trustworthy and fair. The fact that the church is taking the charges seriously and is dedicated to discovering the truth is another benefit that it provides to the public. By being open and honest, the church may begin to regain people's trust and demonstrate that it places a high priority on authenticity and responsibility. It is important to take reports of abuse seriously and to address them with caution. The obligation of dealing with these difficulties in a straightforward and expedient manner is on the church. All too frequently, reports of abuse are disregarded in order to safeguard reputations. This not only makes the situation much more difficult for the victims, but it also causes people to lose faith in the church. Jimmy Evans ought to make advantage of the fact that he is convinced that he receives messages from God in order to respond to these claims. If Evans were to make a public request to God for advice regarding this subject, just think of the impact that it would have. It has the potential to offer healing to the Lamb family as well as the community of the church. On the other hand, it appears that Evans only utilizes his discussions with God for things that are beneficial to either himself or the church. This narrative is replete with a range of feelings, time, and dispute. Do you have any thoughts? It was possible that human feelings were engaged in this relationship, or was it actually God's plan? In the comment section below, please share your ideas with me. In order to stay up to current on this news, make sure to give this channel a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to it. I'll see you in the next video, and I hope you continue to be curious.